Today's video is a little bit different. My cord that I use to record audio with ATC radio broke, so I'm getting a new one, but I'm going to do a voiceover. But for today's flight, I did a solo flight to the west of the airport and worked on basic maneuvers, stalls, and some landings. So I'll talk through everything that happened today, and as I'm doing each maneuver, basically what the protocol and process is for those particular maneuvers. And at this point in my training, pretty much everything we're doing is to finish the requirements needed to get my private pilot certificate, as well as do everything we need to do to work on what's going to be tested in my check ride. So there's a few things I got left: cross-country flight, some night flying, things like that, IFR conditions, to get my certificate and get the check ride scheduled. But here's my first takeoff. Winds were really minimal today. There was about 5 to 8 knots of wind. But we took off to the east, runway 10, and then we got clearance to do a left turn and basically do a 180 to position ourselves at a heading flying northwest. And this is Lake Minnetonka. So this is below Class Bravo airspace, and it's to the northwest of Flying Cloud Airport. And basically you got to be below 4,000 feet to fly in this region, or you'll enter the Bravo airspace. After doing some scenic flying around Lake Minnetonka, the first maneuver I'm working on here is steep turns. So I got to an area where there's a lot of farmland, so if there was an emergency or an engine failure, I could have a much easier spot to land at. But with steep turns, basically I'm trying to turn at a 45-degree angle and hold that turn for 360 degrees. And then once I get back on my original heading, which in this case was west, I turn back all the way and then start another steep turn to the right. And as I'm doing this, I got hit by a gust of wind there. So that was a little bit of a surprise at the worst possible time, but I recovered pretty well. But as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep my elevation the same, trying to keep airspeed basically the same. And that's about it. And then once I exit the steep turn, I want to get back on the original heading. But these went really well. I was at 3,500 feet and I stayed within 100 feet the whole time, pretty much, so I was happy with that. And as you're doing these, main thing is you got to pull back a little bit on the yoke to maintain elevation, also add a little power. And then if you do 2 downstrokes on the pitch wheel, or the trim wheel, that'll lock in that 45-degree angle, and the plane basically flies itself. Next we move to stalls. This is a power off stall. So you can see I pulled it into idle. I'm pulling the nose up to the horizon, basically doing a landing maneuver, and there it just stalled. Wait for that stall horn, nose down, full power, and recover. And then we switch to power on stalls, which is simulating a takeoff position. So we're bringing the plane up to the sky. We hit the stall, heard the stall horn, and brought the nose down and recovered. It's pretty easy stuff, but stalls are important obviously to figure out and recover from. And that was pretty much it for the maneuvers on this video. I also did turns around a point and S-turns, but those are really boring, so I didn't include them in the video. But this is flying over Lake Waconia, and this was pretty epic today. A little bit hazy, but visibility was really solid. So I just looped around the lake a few times. Nothing crazy. I was at about 2,500 feet altitude, something like that. And I tried to get an angle of the lake so the camera could see it, but as you can see, pretty nice lake. And this is directly west of the airport, so it's also an easy waypoint. I think it's about 16 nautical miles away from the airport. So after flying around here a little bit, which is also below the Class Bravo airspace, I think 7,000 feet is the max elevation you can go up to before you enter Bravo. But after flying around here, I headed back to the airport to work on some landings. But it was a hot day, really nice day, but very hot, pretty humid. The density altitude, I think, was like 2,800 at my airport. And the actual elevation of the airport is 900, so it took a little bit longer to climb from takeoff. Performance of the engine is a little bit lower than normal. And then here's my first landing. So I came in, I got about 16 miles from the west. We got a straight in landing clearance from ATC for runway 10 right. And it was a little bit to the left, but I was patient with it. Held that flare in. Perfect. Yeah, really soft, nice landing. A little bit to the left of the center line, but we got pushed a little bit over to the left. But again, I was patient with it and got back on the center line, pretty close to it. And then we taxied back to the actor runway. Did another takeoff. Winds were very minimal again, so nothing too crazy here. There's a lot of students out today flying, like myself, but a lot of new students out flying today. It's kind of a disaster, honestly. Oh, and speaking of that, so on this landing, we had clearance to land at 10 left, and ATC gave us a go-around order. So basically what happened is the guy in front of me landed, and I have no idea why, but he, instead of exiting the runway onto a taxiway, he stopped. So he went down about 50% of the runway and basically stopped without exiting the runway as he was supposed to do. And Tower was radioing him and telling him to leave the runway, and he wasn't replying. So kind of a not so good situation. So again, I don't know what happened, if it was a student pilot that just didn't know what was going on or what. But he was sitting on the runway not moving, so they gave us the go-around order to abort the landing and do another circle around the pattern. So then we came in for our third and final landing. In this one, the runway was clear and we were able to land. Also on 10 left. Got a little bit more gusty, as you can see. And on this landing, the winds were pushing the plane up a little bit. So I was holding my flare in ground effect for a pretty good amount of time. But with landing, I have found that it works really well to just be patient. And you can hold that flare in ground effect for a long time and the plane will land itself. But as soon as you force the nose down, you're gonna hit the ground hard. And I learned that through doing that many, many times. But yeah, key thing is just be patient. And I'm realizing now I did do one more landing. I wanted to get 3 landings in, so since we got the go around unexpectedly, I did one more loop around the pattern so I could get 3 solo landings logged. in my logbook as pilot in command. And as far as the requirements go, I'm not worried at all about getting enough landings with solo flight. I think I'm almost to where I need to be for the pilot certificate. But obviously, it's good to get them in, good to get them logged, good to get the practice in. And I think on this landing, yeah, I got pushed over really hard there. So same thing, just be patient. Use aileron to get back to the center line. Like right here, I got pushed over. I was in my flare, and I still landed left of the center line, so I could have been a little more patient, but you don't have to aggressively drop the plane down. But ailerons are going to steer you back to the center, and rudder is going to get the longitudinal axis of the plane straight with the runway. And now we're taxiing back to the flight school. And that was about it. And at this point, I was super sweaty and overheating because, again, it was a hot day. And when you're on the ground, taxiing around, there is not a lot of airflow. So I was definitely ready to be done. But this is a good flight. I logged 1.5 hours as pilot in command. Had some good maneuvers, some good stall practice, and 3 good landings with an unexpected go-around on the 4th. So we'll take it. Pushing the plane back for a perfect park job. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, at this point, again, I've got some cross countries, I've got some night flights, and some IFR condition flying to log, in addition to some more solo flights. And then I'm hoping to do my check ride in about the next month and a half.